If I ranked Star Trek Voyager episodes, Jetrel might be in the top 10 or 20 at least. And the reason is Neelix. Any comical character that endures has a tragic sadness at their core on which their comic nature rests. In fact, Neelix tells amusing stories and is his upbeat self to mask his traumatic loss and shame. This episode and this character is why you watch Voyager. To borrow from another franchise, with Neelix, there's more than meets the eye. He's lost his family in a devastating end to an unjust war. He's lived with shame, thinking himself a coward when he's just a conscientious objector.
I wanted to be alone.
I'm sorry to bother you. I know how you must feel.
No, you don't know. Not everything. You don't know where I was the night Rhinax was destroyed. I was on Talax, but I wasn't fighting with the defense forces. I was hiding from them.
I don't understand.
I never reported for duty. I thought the war was unjust. That Talax was fighting for reasons that weren't worth killing for. But the real reason I didn't report was because I was a coward. Now you know.
If the Talaxian authorities would have caught you, what would they have done?
Punishment for refusing military service was death.
You put your life at risk for something you believed in, and you think that makes you a coward.
And he carried overwhelming hate for the Hakonian scientist Jetrel, the inventor of the Metreon Cascade, which decimated the room Rhinax and killed his family.
He's a mass murderer!
Although Neelix's internal struggle concerning his survivor's guilt is wonderfully portrayed, it's not the meat of this story. No, that's rooted in Jetrel's speech on science and the necessary impulse to seek knowledge and apply it no matter the outcome.
Is there anything besides science that makes your heart beat faster, Jetrel?
Not anymore.
If I'd been in charge of the Cascade, I'd have, I don't know, chosen a military target. Somehow I don't think I'd have targeted innocent civilians.
The military strategists did not think a demonstration would work. They wanted to show the power of the Cascade in all its horror.
You should have tried to stop them!
If I had not discovered the Cascade, it would have been someone else, don't you see? It was a scientific inevitability, one discovery flowing naturally to the next. Something so enormous as science will not stop for something as small as man, Mr. Neelix.
So you did it for science?
To know whether or not it could be done. It's good to know how the world works. It is not possible to be a scientist unless you believe that all the knowledge of the universe and all the power that it bestows is of intrinsic value to everyone. And one must share that knowledge and allow it to be applied, and then be willing to live with the consequences.
This pure, amoral argument for science offers a great deal of room for discussion and argument about how science should or shouldn't be restricted. Yet, as Neelix points out, this pursuit of an amoral science does not come without consequences. The devastation and slaughter of millions on Rhinax are a consequence, but also the consequence of the scientist becoming a monster.
Consequences? Who are you to talk about consequences?
You are not the only one to lose family during the war, Mr. Neelix.
When I returned home after the cascade to my wife, my lovely wife, Gulri, when I would reach out for her, she would pull away, as if I had some contagious disease. You see, like you, she thought I had become a monster. Shortly after that, she took my 3 children. And I have not seen them since.
Did you ever think that maybe your wife was right? That you had become a monster?
Yes.
The most emotionally affecting moment in this episode is Neelix's visceral story of the mangled, burned survivors on Rhinax.
A man goes back to Rhinax after the cascade to look for survivors. But the impact of the blast has set off hundreds of fires, and there's nothing there. Just smoldering ruins, the stench of seared flesh. From out of this huge cloud of billowing dust, he can see bodies moving, whimpering, coming toward him. They're monsters. Their flesh horribly charred, the color of shale. One of them comes toward him, mangled arms outstretched. And he can't help it. He turns away, frightened. But then the thing speaks, and he knows by the sound of her voice that she's not a monster at all, but a child, a little girl.
Mr. Neelix,
We brought her back to Talax with the other survivors. Over the next few weeks, I stayed at her bedside and watched her wither away. Those are consequences, Dr. Jetrel.
There is no way I can ever apologize to you, Mr. Neelix. That's why I have not tried.
The performance is striking. The dialogue is precise and rich in imagery. The tear from Jetrel, heartbreaking. These 2 actors are masters of their craft. This is a classic Star Trek story because it explores our own history, such as the bombing of Hiroshima. But like good science fiction, it takes those explorations of our history out of context and puts it in space or some strange new setting, so we can see these situations without our own biases. It asks challenging questions that each generation must wrestle with. This is great entertainment, and more than that, this is great education. And of course, this is why Voyager.
Neelix, I suppose you think this is a fitting punishment for me.
Maybe the cascade was a punishment for all of us. For our hatred. There's something I need to tell you.
What is it?
I want to tell you that I forgive you.